This is a stimulus update and daily news report. With the Build Back Better plan passing in the House, the next step is to pass in the Senate. All 50 Democrats are on board with it, except for Joe Manchin and Sinema, who coincidentally have recently received massive donations from the Republicans. I'll give you more details on that. I'll also play video clips from the Republican perspective as well as the Democrat perspective on how this Build Back Better plan will help or hurt inflation. You don't want to miss that. Also, I'll go over the latest stimulus articles like this. Surprise stimulus checks being sent out if you do certain jobs. Find out if you will get a bonus payment. Also, this one right here are $1,200 stimulus payments included in Biden's infrastructure bill, and I'll give you some other more important updates as well. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below, and I'm giving $200 to my subscribers. I'll talk more about that later on in the video, but first, let's talk about Thanksgiving dinner. So Thanksgiving dinner cost jumps with inflation on the menu. So what it's saying here is Thanksgiving dinner will cost the U.S. consumers an average of 14% more this year, in the biggest annual increase in 31 years, which is pretty crazy. Also, just regular day life too. Besides Thanksgiving, prices continue to rise at grocery stores, but shelves will be stocked for holidays. So I have noticed that in my area, shelves are stocked better. They're not bare like they were before, maybe like a week or two ago. Let me know down in the comments below, are the shelves stocked in your local grocery stores? I know prices are crazy in general. So speaking of prices, if you look here, these are the top prices of food, of how much they went up. Meats, poultry, fish, and eggs up 11.9%, beef up 20%, pork 14%, dairy 1%, non-alcoholic beverages 4.5%, cereals and bakery products 3.5%, and fruits and vegetables up 3%. So everything just seems to be going up. I'll give the stimulus check news later on in the video, but first let's talk about the big bill, what's going on there. So House Democrats passed Biden's $2 trillion bill with child allowance and social benefits, sending it to the Senate where Manchin may still sink it. So I'm going to play you the Republicans' perspective first of what's happening with this big bill, why it should not pass, why it's going to hurt inflation. Then I'll give you the Democrats' perspective after that. We'll talk about Joe Manchin's ties with big Republican donors. Check this out first.
Anita, for more on the fate of Biden's spending bill in the Senate, we're joined by Republican Senator from Tennessee, Bill Hagerty. He's also on the Senate Appropriations and Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee. Senator Hagerty, thank you for taking time on this Saturday before Thanksgiving. We're going to talk about the fact people are going to pay a lot more for that turkey, but I want to get your immediate reaction to your colleague, Brad Schneider, Congressman, Democrat Congressman there, talking just at the very end about the gap. The CBO says this will add to the deficit, yet the administration says pay no attention to that because the IRS will go after people to make up that difference. What's your reaction?
I think America's had enough of the government invading their lives. You know, the Biden administration wants to have access to every American's bank account. You know, first it was $600, now I've heard it's up to $10,000, but still they're going to get access to every bank account. Then they're going to sick the IRS on us. They're going to increase the IRS's budget eightfold and attack Americans. We're going to be under constant audit. That's the Democrat way to pay for this. But you see this right on the back of the so-called infrastructure bill that was over $250 billion short. You had the shortfall that just came up yesterday on this Build Back Better plan. That's over $600 billion short. That's falling right on the shoulders of our children and our grandchildren. This is not acceptable under any circumstance.
And Senator, let's talk about the actual difference with the CBO. The administration simply says that in the long run, never mind the pain the Americans are feeling right now, but in the long run, this overall will reduce the deficit, be better, lower costs for Americans. Your reaction to that, and how do you see it?
My reaction is that's complete bunk. This plan is designed to increase government dependency here in America, to take away our liberties and put people in the hands of the government from cradle to grave. It's going to force more jobs overseas. It's going to shrink the economy. Certainly, we've seen the impact on inflation. I mean, right here in Tennessee, a turkey costs 24% more today than it did last year. That's the most pernicious tax of all on Americans. What we've seen is real wages go down for Americans. We're in a lot of pain right now, and the last thing we need to do is federalize more. In fact, I had a nominee in front of me in the banking committee just this week. She's up to be the comptroller of the currency. That's the person responsible for the whole payment system, the banking system in America. What does she want to do? She wants the federal government to take over our checking accounts, our savings accounts. My wife laughed and said, this is going to be like going to the DMV when you try to go to get your local banking taken care of. Everyone knows when the government takes control of something, the costs go up, the efficiency goes down. This is not what we need, and certainly not at a time when we've got inflation spiraling through the roof.
Now, do all of your Republican colleagues in the Senate feel that way? This is all about the math, as our Capitol Hill correspondent Chad Pergram always schools us. Is there any chance that any Republican could support this? And needing only one Democrat to vote against it, how do you see things playing out?
There is not a chance that a Republican would step up and agree to something like this. America doesn't need socialism. We certainly don't need this big government socialism. And I think what we hear when we go home to our states is a lot of pain right now in America. People are suffering with inflation. People are embarrassed with what's happened in Afghanistan. There's a massive national security crisis at our southern border. The American public does not want to hand over the economy to the government. And I hope that some of my colleagues on the Democrat side will see and hear that same message.
From what you're hearing behind the scenes, Senator Manchin, Senator Sinema, any chance that they're leaning in that direction?
I think there's a very good chance that could happen. I mean, they're from states that are just like mine, where people are hurting. You know, I can't imagine that in Senator Manchin's state, he likes the aspects of this program that would absolutely kill the fossil fuel industry. I mean, we've seen what's happened with gas prices here in America. People commute in Tennessee. They do in West Virginia and Arizona as well. This is painful to Americans, and I don't think they're gonna hear anything different than I'm hearing right now. I hope that one or more of them will step up and say no more.
As you can tell, many Republicans are not too happy with this Build Back Better bill, and they're counting on Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema to not pass it. So if we look here at this article, GOP donors back Manchin and Sinema as they reshape Biden's agenda. The two Democratic senators are attracting campaign contributions from business interests and conservatives as progressives fume over their efforts to pare back at the president's domestic policy bill. So what it's saying here is, but the stream of cash to the campaigns of Ms. Sinema and Mr. Manchin from outside the normal Democratic channels stands out because many of the donors have little history with them. The financial support is also notable for how closely tied it has been to their power over a single piece of legislation, the fate of which continues to rest largely with the two senators because their party cannot afford to lose either of their votes in evenly divided Senate. So, as I said here, they don't have any history with these Republican donors, and is it a coincidence that because they're holding up this big bill that they're getting all this extra money? There's no exact tie there, but one can only assume and connect the dots. Here is the Democrat perspective for the Build Back Better plan right here.
All right, House Democrats are finally getting the money, but nobody but Republicans are mad. Friday morning, the House passed President Biden's sweeping $2 trillion Build Back Better bill, which includes universal pre-K, paid family leave, Medicare expansion for hearing services, and big investments in green energy. The bill now heads to the Senate, where the filibuster-loving duo, Manchin have expressed opposition to some of the bill's features. But Speaker Pelosi is already on the case, selling the plan to the public.
This is legislation that creates millions of good-paying jobs, gives tax cuts to the middle class, lowers costs, especially health care costs and child care costs for the middle class, and is paid for 100%.
All right, joining me now is New York Congressman Jamal Bowman, member of the House Committee on Education and Labor. Congressman, so happy to have you here this morning. I'm sure you're very happy that the House has passed this bill. I have to ask, though, there's been a couple of false starts here. Are you confident that this bill will become law by the end of the year?
I'm hopeful. I'm confident. I understand how the Senate has been working for several months. But today is a day of celebration to make sure the American people understand exactly what is in this bill. I mean, I'm a former educator, so I'm focused on how this bill invests in our children, particularly our most vulnerable children, how it invests in public housing, how it invests in climate, and how it has a lifespan focus. It's really a holistic bill, and in my opinion, it's something that will ultimately save our planet and save our democracy. Universal pre-K, universal child care, extending the child tax credit. We're going to have tens of millions of children better prepared for kindergarten because we are providing nurturing environments for them from birth to age 5. This is a game changer. This is the largest expansion of education since we developed public schools in this country. As a former educator, I can tell you so many kids come into kindergarten behind the 8 ball because we didn't have universal pre-K and we didn't have universal child care. Now we're talking about tens of millions of kids ready to hit the ground running in kindergarten and thrive not just in school, but in post-secondary opportunities.
You make really good points about what's in the bill. I want to talk about something else that's in the bill. Among the provisions, it caps out-of-pocket medical costs at $2,000 a year starting in 2024. This is going to have a big impact on Black and brown communities, especially when you think about when it comes to diabetes and insulin. For diabetic patients, out-of-pocket costs for insulin would be capped at $35 for a 30-day supply starting in 2023. Manchin has stood in the way of climate provisions before. His family has financial ties to coal mines. What do you think the odds are that he will also object to this provision? I can't help but remember the EpiPen scandal a few years ago when his daughter's company had raised the price for that. Will the insulin, will people be able to get insulin for $35 even after this bill passes the Senate, if it passes the Senate?
Well, I'm confident that they will, because all eyes are now on the Senate right now, and all eyes are on Manchin and Sinema. And, you know, this is the last leg of the president's agenda. We passed the American Rescue Plan. We passed the bipartisan infrastructure framework, and now the House has passed Build Back Better. The final leg is the Senate, so all eyes are on the Senate. If we don't get this done, it's going to be all on the Senate, and they will have to take accountability for that. Now is the time. I mean, it's way past time to lower the cost of prescription drugs overall, but lowering the cost of insulin, game changer. Lowering the cost of cancer drugs, game changer. How that impacts our seniors and benefits and improve their quality of life, it's tremendous. Hearing now included with in Medicare packages, transformative. So, you know, the bill is not as perfect as we wanted it to be, but it has so many good things in it. And again, this is the last leg of Biden's agenda. He's got 2/3 of it through. Now it's time to get this final part of it passed.
All right, so you talked about it may not be perfect. Now, once this bill goes to the Senate, it's going to come back to the House, and essentially you folks in the lower chamber will have to take it or leave it. Now, you voted no on BIF, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, on principle, because the Build Back Better bill was not going to be voted on at the same time. Are you confident that you will vote yes on this bill if it comes back not in the way that the House sent it to the Senate?
Very hopeful is how I will describe how I'm feeling at this moment. Listen, this bill came to us at $3.5 trillion. It's already been adjusted or gutted to $1.75 trillion. Part of the reason that's happening is because of lobbyists who literally want to cut or gut or kill this bill completely. It is my job to fight for the children and families and seniors who do not have lobbyists. And many of us who voted no, we are fighting for people who do not have lobbyists. So we are going to continue to work the Senate from the House. That's my job, but that's America's job, to put pressure on the Senate to make sure the bill stays exactly where it is as a beginning measure, because we're going to have to do more when it comes to climate change. Yeah. But again, I want to celebrate not just the child care and the other provisions, but violence reduction and many other good components of this bill.
What are your thoughts on what Representative Bowman had to say? Now that you got the Republican and Democrat perspective, which side do you side with best? What points did you like from both perspectives? I like to give multiple perspectives, hit it from different angles so you know exactly what's going on, so it's not an echo chamber here. Let me know your thoughts on all that down in the comments below. Next, let's get into the stimulus check news. So Santa Ana, California, to issue $6 million in stimulus funds to qualifying residents in coming weeks. So there's going to be 20,000 $300 debit cards being sent out. Prepaid Visa debit cards going to be sent out to people in Santa Ana, which is huge. I think a lot of people are looking for other stimulus programs like that in their area. I'll let you know if anything else changes. Also, Also, let's go over the latest stimulus check articles here. So surprise stimulus checks being sent out if you do certain jobs. Find out if you will get a bonus payment. So this is talking about all the different programs sort of that I've spoken about in the past. I think I'm going to limit it to like once every few days where I give that roundup of all the different states. But basically that's what this article is talking about, like teachers getting $1,000 bonus checks, cafeteria workers, meat packers, and farmers getting $600 checks, grocery store workers supposedly getting $600 checks. Once it's more concrete and there's more information, I'll give you info on that. Also, this article right here, fourth stimulus check study says new payment is critical. Will $2,000 online petition be completed before 2022? So here is that petition right here, $2,000 per month to every American, currently at 2,963,000 signatures. So with this article right here, will it be completed before 2022? Will it get to that 3 million mark? Well, it may or may not, but the answer doesn't really affect whether the $2,000 per month check is going to be handed out. Even if it does get to 3 million, we don't know if it's actually going to be distributed. It's all up to the politicians of whether they want to put it in a bill, vote on it, pass it, and then distribute it. So this petition is more of a symbol showing what the people want, but it's not going to guarantee stimulus checks being in there. Speaking of stimulus checks being in the package, are $1,200 stimulus payments included in Biden's infrastructure bill? So if you watch my channel, you probably know the answer to that. If you watch other channels or crazy news sources that make up a bunch of lies, you know that there is no $1,200 stimulus payment in Biden's infrastructure bill. So the answer to that, quick answer, is no, it is not in there, but I think a lot of other sources may say otherwise, but I want to tell you the truth, it is not in that big bill right there. And that is all the stimulus news I have for you today to hopefully brighten your day a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys, this is Bella. This is the tip of the day. I want to tell you something what you should always do. So when you want to do something, do it. Like if you want to go out in outer space, do it. If you want to say something, do it. Say whatever you want and do whatever you want. And make it excitement. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate your support. So I did have my pickleball tournament yesterday and I got the silver medal, which is pretty cool. So I came in second place with my partner. I had a great time. If you're not sure what pickleball is, here's a little clip of Bella and I playing pickleball. It's basically tennis, but just with like a plastic wiffle ball and some paddles. But yeah, had a great time doing that. We actually also had a gingerbread. We made the gingerbread house yesterday, put up our Christmas tree. So I'll probably get some more pictures and videos of that in the future as well. But yeah, so it was a good fun family weekend. I hope you had a good weekend as well. If you want to check out any of my other videos, you can click up here or down here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.